The ecological approach is a new method for learning Jiu Jitsu. A typical Jiu Jitsu class would have an instructor demonstrating a technique step by step. Then the students practice that technique by drilling with a non-resisting partner. The ecological approach would instead focus on immersion and removing that step-by-step instruction. Rather than getting shown the step-by-step way to do a rear naked choke, the instructor would say, this is a rear naked choke, show it real quick, and then move on to the other buzzword phrase in Jiu-Jitsu right now, task-based games. You might get with your partner and the goal of the game is one person starts on the back and is only trying to do a rear naked choke, and the other person is only trying to prevent a rear naked choke. This is a simplification, and there's a lot of different games for almost every different position and technique in Jiu-Jitsu, but you get the idea. People tend to resist new things, and the ecological approach is a new thing, but that's the way we've always done it, has never been a good reason to do anything. Should we all be moving to the ecological approach? I'm not so sure. Proponents of the ecological approach will say that if you want to learn to swim, you wouldn't first practice on dry land, you would jump in the pool, you'd be immersed in the water. Where I think this point falls is that swimming to stay afloat and not drown is one thing, but swimming to be as fast as possible and be a good swimmer is very different. You'd never say to a beginner, okay, here's a golf swing, okay, go do some golf swings, and ever expect them to be good, or at least not good for years and years and years and years and years. They'd get much better, much faster if you actually showed them how to do a golf swing and let them practice it, not just go make them play 18 holes. I tend to think Jiu-Jitsu is more like a golf swing than it is swimming in a pool to just not drown and stay above the water. The people who love the ecological approach will also claim that students retain information better when they're immersed in it as opposed to learning step by step, and I do sort of agree with this. I can remember the first time I hit techniques in sparring, but there's very few times I can remember the first time I drilled something. But on the flip side, I can also remember being a white belt who did know what an armbar was before I ever learned one because I watched the UFC and WEC Wreckage on Versus. Remember those days? But I would go to the jiu-jitsu class and just throw up legs to try to get an armbar because I knew what it was. It wasn't until someone showed me the step-by-step way to do it that I actually hit one. Would I ever get good at arm bars if for years and years and years I never learned the right way to do it via step-by-step instruction and I just kept throwing my legs up the wrong way to do it? Maybe. I don't know, but I tend to think I never would get good arm bars if I never learned how to do an arm bar. This brings me to what I think is the ideal way to learn jiu-jitsu: a little bit of everything. There are so many different ways to teach, and there are so many different ways that people can learn and learn well. I don't think there's any reason that we should limit ourselves to either the traditional way of teaching jiu-jitsu or the ecological approach. I think there should be a blend, so here it is, the best possible jiu-jitsu class. For me, the warm-up is done by yourself. It's not part of class. Come to class warmed up and ready to go. We should do, the instructor teaches a technique, but it shouldn't drag on, like no more than 5 minutes. And then we should go drill the technique. And again, that's no more than 5 minutes. 5 minutes is short, but you can definitely do good step-by-step instruction in just 5 minutes. And 5 minutes of drilling is short, but you can get done what you need to get done in 5 minutes. And then we have to repeat that cycle for the second version of a technique. So like in this example, the first technique was a scissor sweep. 5 minutes step-by-step, 5 minutes drilling scissor sweep. We come back, 5 minutes of instruction on doing an arm bar off the scissor sweep. 5 minutes of drilling that for another 10 minutes, 20 minutes total of step-by-step instruction and drilling. After that, we can move into task-based games. Maybe a game where one person just tries to sweep, the other person tries not to be swept. There's no submitting, there's no guard passing, it's just try not to be swept and try to sweep that person. Do that for like 20 minutes. The rest of the time is just live sparring. I think you get the most out of live sparring, so that gets the biggest chunk of time. I think that situational sparring and task-based games are very good for helping people learn and the immersion and applying those skills in a more controlled environment, so that gets time. But I also think step-by-step instruction is important too. So we're going to keep that, just not as much as we usually do and not dragging it on and on and on. I think the problem with step-by-step instruction and drilling is when it goes on for 10, 20, 30 minutes, people lose interest, they clock out, and they're just going through the motions. If you limit the time they can do that, they'll get more from it. So there you have it, the perfect class. I think we can get things from the ecological approach that improve the traditional way of teaching, and I also don't think we should abandon the traditional way of teaching in favor of the ecological approach. I'm curious what you think though. Let me know what you think down in the comments. While you're in the comments, it would be cool if you like this video and subscribe to the channel, but do what you want. I'm not your dad. Thanks for watching.